Hi, Eileen. Good evening to you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very great. Thank you so much for saying yes to be interviewed today. I'd like to introduce myself formally. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, before we start, I'd like to read a bit of introduction for our listeners, and then we can get right to the conversation. So, hello everyone. Meet Eileen Marcus, the boss who beat the odds. Eileen wrote the book on managing annoying people, literally. She's also the boss lady behind Align Workplace, a company that helps leaders and founders level up their game with innovation and talent. Eileen has been killing it in the executive roles for over 30 years. She has led badass teams in huge organizations across different industries. She has saved a failing social welfare agency with 10,000 staff, jet sets for tech stars, a top seed accelerator, and mentors groups of entrepreneurs to launch and grow their businesses. But Eileen's journey hasn't been all rainbows and unicorns. She has dealt with some serious stuff like beating a rare cancer at 39, surviving a nasty divorce, and getting fired when her boss got busted for embezzlement. She learned how to handle her emotions in both her personal and professional life. She is here now to show us how to bounce back from setbacks, rock in innovation, and create an aligned workplace where everyone wins. Wow, wow, wow. Welcome, 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 Eileen.
Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, before we get to the serious stuff, can you share with us what was it like growing up as an Eileen Marcus?
I was the black sheep of my family. I was the outcast. And I say that now as like that was they said it was a bad thing, thought it was a good thing. But, me and my sisters, we grew up in the 60s. We used to make Barbie houses, right? We could only afford one Barbie doll each. And we had to, get all the stuff from like the workbench and the laundry room and, the rocks from outside and build these Barbie houses. And I was a very good hunter and gatherer. So I'd always get like the best stuff. And then I'd want to like build it together with my sisters. And they would go and complain to my mother and say, Eileen's bossy, Eileen's taking charge. And my mother would go complain to my father. And he'd be like, yeah, be nice to your sisters. Stop bossing them around. So that's what it was like because they should have known I was a boss. I'm going to build a better house and I could fix something. Instead, they didn't really encourage me to be me. So I love the name of your podcast because it's really about I had to find that I was worthy. And they never really let me know that. I was always not doing it their way or being bossy instead of, wow, Eileen, you have a bigger vision, a better idea. You're better organized. Let's let you do it. So it was hard
Wow.
growing up. I had a rough time.
Are you the eldest?
No, I'm the second oldest
Okay,
of
so you're
four.
the.
Four sisters. I used to say that, 1 and 3 are odd because there are four of us, but now I think 1, 3, and 4 are odd. Only 2 is not.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I can definitely resonate with being the black sheep. There's just two of us, me and my younger sister. So I'm the eldest. So yeah, I'm the one who's like out there, trying to conquer the world. So one step at
Yes,
a time.
make a difference. That's right. That's why we were
The
put
next
here.
step is this one. So Eileen, what is your backstory? What inspired you to talk about annoying people?
So my backstory is that I was always trying to prove myself, but I was a good worker. I grew up kind of in a house that was marked by scarcity and lack of. My parents were first generation American and their parents had survived the Holocaust. So they really came from a very non-abundance mentality, a very scarcity mentality, fly under the radar screen, don't show yourself. And it was rough at home. Like I said, I didn't get along with my sisters. So I found community very early on because if you joined the swim team, if you volunteered, not only was there other people there, but I was allowed to do those things. I wasn't just hanging on the street corner, so my parents would let me out. So very early on, I found community and belonging. And that's really my backstory. I had to get out of the house. I was always, getting a little beat up, a little, not feeling good about myself. And I found a way to make it work for me. So I knew how to show up. I was good with organization and that's what I did. So I found a life other than. So, and then, the real turn came in college when I was spending a year abroad in London and I was traveling in the countryside and I kept on meeting social workers in the country. They were bringing a bottle of wine and a loaf of bread in Paris, I mean, outside of France, in England, all over in Wales, in Spain. They were bringing resources to people who couldn't get out home. And then I got a kidney stone at age 17 in Scotland, and I learned about socialized medicine. I was like, oh my God, I don't even have a credit card. And that was it. I was like, I'm going to be a social worker. I'm going to go help people that don't have access to medical care. And I'm
Wow.
going to, teach people how to fish instead of give them a fish. And that's kind of how I got into, helping people in the whole financial insecurity landscape and working in social services.
That's so interesting. Prior to the interview, you were telling me that you were in New York City for 30 years. What were you doing there? Were you in corporate America as well?
So I went to New York City to go to graduate school in Columbia. I
Right.
did, I don't say this often, but as you get older, you get more. I'm like, what was I thinking? I got 2 masters.
Me too.
They didn't even
Oh my
have
God,
double
two
masters then.
masters?
I
Oh
got
my
a master's
God.
in social work and a master's in public policy because I wanted to change the social welfare system.
Nice.
And I worked for 36 years in government and big nonprofits, and eventually the skill set in government and nonprofits, which is very bootstrapping, which is very much like making change from the inside out, advocacy, led me to entrepreneurship. So instead of working on just food pantries, benefits, home care, cash assistance, I was like, why don't I help people earn more money so they can afford all that? So yeah, I did a stint in a few entrepreneurial places, corporate, but mostly nonprofit and government. That's my background. Large systems.
And then you were mentioning about having to prove yourself, and then you were dropping bits and pieces of information about your life where you had two masters and then growing up feeling that you had to prove yourself something. Isn't that funny? It's about often that comes from something within us saying that we're not worthy, therefore we need to prove ourselves, right?
Correct. And the problem with that, and why I really love your message and what you're doing, Nicolette, is that when you get into that cycle of proving yourself, it's never enough. How many homes, how many cars,
Uh,
how much money. So if it does, the thing is, it's an inside job. If you don't feel good enough inside, you will never be enough on the outside. And since I didn't get that core value from my family being the black sheep, I had to learn that. And it took me a really, really long time to learn it. So I like to speak and write now about just that. You can get there quicker, know yourself, know who you are, play to that strength. Instead of, I was always like, I mean, I was managing 10,000 people and I'm like one of the most successful managers in this, bureaucracy that no one had ever been able to turn around. And I'm always like, oh, they're going to yell at me. Because that was my experience in my family of origin.
right. So how did you get through that?
A lot of vodka, which I don't recommend.
I mean, is there an alternative to what?
I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that,
No, no,
but
no, no, no.
what?
I mean, yeah, you can
No,
say it. It's
what did
okay.
you say? No, I
I
didn't hear what
said
you said.
no. I said you said vodka, right? So,
Yeah.
so for people who would like to opt for an alternative route, is there
Yes.
a way?
No. So, I mean, I say that tongue in cheek. You mean jokingly, meaning
Yes,
that
yes,
when you're in those pressure situations, when you're in those hysterical, post-traumatic stress situations, working for a new mayor in a high-level job, blazing a trail that no one's done before, right? You have to find coping mechanisms. And that's why now I talk about managing annoying people, because it's really about managing myself and what I should have done and how I should manage myself so that I show up, kind and generous and with integrity and not always all over the place. Because we all know those people that they're like a tornado. They get things done, but you don't want to be in that, in that zone with them or in that
yeah.
circle. And
That's
so
right.
I really had to learn how to, slow down, let the universe catch up, how to understand that people come from a different perspective, how to talk to them differently, how to get them to see my point of view, how to accept what I can't change in them. So that's really the journey I've been on that I talk about and share mostly. Don't use the vodka, use, your mental health. Stay sane.
That was the how do I say that? The intrinsic message from that. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Eileen, why does managing our own behavior matter? Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Worthless podcast. Now, if this real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Because what we bring is what we get. So if we start the day, we're late, we're rushing, our phone isn't charged, our car is on empty, we forget our lunch, we don't eat breakfast, and we're cranky. That's what people actually, we think we're holding it together, but that's what people reflect back to us. They're anxious. They see us rushing. We don't have time for them. So managing how we relate to other people and the kindnesses or the messages, the world is like a rubber room, right? What you put that out there bounces back to you. So it's really important to manage your own behavior because you're important and you are worth something and you matter. And if you don't manage that sphere around you, everything in it will turn to mud and will get stuck, right? You will, there's all these studies about we are the sum of the 7 people we spend the most time with. And if you're negative,
Yes.
that's what you're bringing. You're going to attract those negative people. Yeah, that guy cut you up. Yeah, that you should have got that promotion. Yeah, that person stole that offer from you. Yeah, that was your idea. And that negativity, unfortunately, human nature feeds negativity. So it's really important to think about our own behavior and what we're doing. It's like the butterfly effect, right? A little wave of the wings, a little kindness, that's okay. I'll do it better next time. I didn't mean to be, anxious when I showed up. You know what? I was a little late this morning. I didn't blow up the building. I was just a little late. That's a bad thing to say, but you know what I'm saying. So it's really important to manage your own behavior because what you put out there is what you bring to you.
And okay, there's always this catch-22, right? Where you're trying to manage yourself, but at the same time, you're also scared that, I guess the way to put it is the expectation of the world to you. Like, how do you block that noise and just know truly that you are where you're meant to be and, take your time? Because I have this thing I have on my this message for on my WhatsApp. It's nature is never hurried, yet everything is accomplished. Like, but it took me a long time to
Yes,
really embrace that concept.
I love that.
Because in corporate, especially in consulting, it's always go, 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 go. I don't want to say for females, like, you can only go so much at a given time
Anyone can
until you're
only
burned out. Yeah, yeah,
anyone,
exactly.
women
Anyone, yeah.
inherently, because of our role as, mother,
Correct.
caretaker,
Yes.
all those
Yes.
things, we end up with a lot more on our plate always.
Mhm.
But I think, for me, this goes to the nature of really understanding my role in the universe. Are you there? You look like you froze. Oh, there you are. Is that really understanding your role in the universe and showing up for that role in the universe? So, and people say to me, well, I was nice and it didn't work, or I did that and it didn't work. And I'm like, how long did you stay on that path? So, for those listeners, Nicolette and I were talking because she has the Statue of Liberty behind her. And I'm like, oh, I'm a New Yorker. So when you're on the path, you get a lot of signs that you're on the path. So if you're not getting those signs, that's why the universe isn't speaking to you. You're being angry, you're not being truthful to yourself or someone else, and you're holding back. So when you're in the right place. And that is the big hurdle, that you have to understand the situation, but you have to understand who you are. And you have to marry the two in a almost very sophisticated way, understanding your role, your purpose. So you have to speak up, but you speak up very differently if you're a CEO versus you're the salesperson. You speak up very differently if you're the mother versus the child. So you have to really think about what's my right role, what can I have province, or what can I change? But when you show up, and I'm sure you found this, Nicolette, in really service to that mission that I'm here to help people change the way that they relate to their lives. I'm here to make lives simpler. Those kind of signs, like the one we had when we first signed on, happen more and more. And the more that you trust your intuition and the more you do it, the more those things work.
Yeah, it's like the universe. No, I'm not gonna say it's like the universe is conspiring to help you achieve that.
And it doesn't mean, that everything's going to go great. There's going to be
That
problems,
is so true. Yeah.
but you're going to be better equipped to handle them. I heard something the other day, like, when you believe in yourself and the universe and you really believe you're in the right place, it doesn't stop the rain from falling, but it sure does give you an umbrella, right? It protects
Mm-hmm.
you. It gives you a path. It helps you, don't get as wet as you used to.
That is correct. Oh yeah, I love that. Because sometimes we often forget that we're on the right path and then we're protected. No harm can happen to us, befall us.
Yeah, and let me dig a little deeper into that if you don't mind, because
Yeah,
we might
please.
do all the questions or not.
I love about everything about the show is deep
So,
conversation.
this is a theme with me because your next question is going to be what inspired you to talk about annoying people, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, because I'm annoying, right? I'm annoying. And when I started to create a team and create big teams and manage, I hired a table of mini-me's, all ethical, competent, very good. But oh my goodness, I need this, I need that, I need time off. You didn't pay attention to me. What should I do about this? I have a problem. That one's mad at me. So they became like a lot of noise to manage. And I constantly have to tell people, the reason I led right into that is, just because it's not working doesn't mean it's not working. Stay the path, right? Like you just said, nature's never in a hurry. Everything happens. It's not our time. It's the universe time. So if you stay the path and you correct when you're supposed to, things happen. There was something else I wanted to say why I said, oh, let me jump ahead. We were talking about, it really goes with the fact that when you're in the right place, in the right mindset, the doors that are supposed to open. I know what I was going to say. Sometimes we think there's no way out of a situation. We think there's a lot of problems. I can give you a very personal example. I lived in New York City for 36 years. For a variety of reasons, I decided to move. I was traveling a lot, traffic in the city. I had a big dog, and I decided to move. I didn't sell my apartment right away because I thought I might go back to the city. When I decided to sell my apartment, COVID hit. All of a sudden, this great resource I had, I couldn't cash out.
Mm-hmm.
That was the hardest year and a half to pay the mortgage, the maintenance, exorbitant fees, and to say, will I ever get the money back? But somehow I stayed that path. And although, I didn't get exactly what I had hoped for the apartment, because it was a year during COVID and the tax rates were different and there was exclusions because of COVID and certain things, I did just as well. So it didn't look like I thought it would look, but the end result was the same. So we never know what it's going to look like. We think it has to be one way, but if we can open up to what the universe is giving us, we can get something incredibly different that is even better than we ever expected. But we hold on to that thought, it has to be this, it has to be that, has to be the guy, has to be the fur coat, has to be the million followers. Maybe not.
You touched on a lot of points right there. The followers. I love how you're dropping all this nugget. It's also, and coming back to that, it's about accepting and letting go, but also having that balance, right? Like
Yes.
wanting to have that control over the outcome. It has to be certain this
Yeah.
way. Whew, I love it. I love it. Okay, now you're right because you're. What inspired you to talk to about annoying people? Because you're annoying. So now you mentioned you hired a lot of mini me's, right? And then you had to manage basically your own army.
Yes. My own monsters I created, my circus.
Yeah. So how did that turn out for you? Like, how long did it take you?
Took me, sometimes it's not the length, but the depth, right? I got in really over my head before I got out. I learned it pretty quick, and I realized I needed people with different skill sets that could actually, I spent a lot of time, especially when I was managing all those 10,000 people, talking about people that lead from the back of the room. right? There are quiet leaders. There are people on your team who are the glue. We all know them, even in your family, the family member who never shows off, but somehow sends you the right gift when
Observes.
you knows it. But yeah,
Yeah.
remembers the recipe that no one else knows, you know? So I really had to learn how to look for those people. And part of it goes back to your first question. Since I had to remember who I was as a child, that my family didn't appreciate me, who are those people who I'm overlooking? And who do I want to elevate? So I had to look for people that were different than me.
Mm. Mm. Wow, I love it. Okay. Eileen, what are the physical signs of annoyance?
Well, first of all, we missed my favorite question, but the physical signs of
Okay.
annoyance.
Okay.
No,
I know what you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
say.
go back. The physical signs of annoyance is real. It is a gateway to anger. Right now,
It
we know
is.
annoying. Right now, years ago, people didn't want to talk about annoying. Then, once again, COVID, Zoom, online meetings, all of a sudden, oh, mental health. I don't want to get annoyed. Right. So, like, this is a hot topic again. I always knew it was a hot topic because annoyance is a gateway to other feelings. Feelings are never wrong. They might be misinformed, but they're never wrong. What's wrong is our reaction to them, how we take a feeling and then blow it up, right? Like start a fight when it's just a little problem, or get in deep, or get a thought in our head that, oh, that person's trying to screw me. You know, we play on that. So the likelihood that you will get annoyed, I can say, is 100%. I do not know one person that never doesn't get annoyed. There will be someone that will absolutely annoy you. And when you get annoyed, you have physiological changes. It's a fight or flight response. Your amygdala gets triggered, right? So your blood starts pumping, your temperature goes up, your adrenal glands get involved. So your ability to problem solve, to think straight, all go out the window. And of course, when your temperature goes up and your pain threshold goes up, your pupils dilate. So you start to look crazy. So you think you're holding it together, but everyone else knows you're not. We've all seen that guy in line, right? I say the
Okay.
line. You know, I was in line at the supermarket the other day, and this guy is like breathing down my neck, right? And there's a long line. It was a holiday weekend. And I say to him, sir, we're all online. He goes, well, it's my first time at the supermarket. I'm like, right, but it's not your first time on a line.
Yeah. How did you respond to that?
I said, it's not your first time on a line, is it? Neither
Yeah.
I said, sir, we're all in line. We all want to get someplace. Can you
Exactly.
please give me a little space? I don't need you breathing down my neck. It's one of my tricks. Ask
And he,
directly. Ask directly. Instead of, because
wow.
what's the opposite? Why is this guy on my back? And what's it? And should I let him go? And shouldn't I? And why is he more important than me? And why does he, blah, 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 blah. The noise in my head would have gotten so huge. And then we go back to what I talked about at the beginning. I show up to the next place angry. I'm mad when the cash register doesn't ring up the right price and I call over the person to help me. But instead, I just said, sir, you need to back off. I don't know where else you shop, but this is how we do it here.
So he took it well then. Or he was
Yeah.
just like,
Part of that goes back to worthiness. It's in your nonverbal clues. People get more information 55% faster, I believe, through nonverbal cues. So it's about, that power pose, not aggressive, standing your ground, looking at him in the eye, speaking slowly and calmly, not letting your voice get up, and letting him know you mean business. It makes a big difference.
wow, this became a coaching session for me. I love it. Slash therapy. We're gonna get to therapy if you don't mind sharing about your personal life story. But okay, let's cover the business side of things. So, oh yeah, and you said how likely you answered everything, Eileen. Okay,
Oh,
I
you
like.
asked about the business side.
Yeah. Well, I want to go through some of the questions. I like to go to one and then come back
Whatever
to
you
it.
want.
So can I just ignore it if I am annoyed?
You can, but it won't go well for you. Meaning, you'll just get angrier and madder, and the human brain can only handle so much, right? So if you're annoyed and you ignore it, it will come out in a time. We all know that expression. I'm sure you have it where you are too. The straw that broke the camel's back, right? So you think you're going along fine, and then the printer jams and you lose your mind, right? And you're like, why am I losing my mind over the printer? Now, it could happen, as it's happened to me in, very important executive meetings where someone says one thing and I think I'm handling, and all of a sudden I'm like down their throat. Just that.
Is that
You.
right?
So
Oh
you
my God.
cannot ignore it. You can't outrun your feelings. What you can do is address them, figure out if they are actually factual or not. Is that person actually trying to screw me? Is this fact real? Did this not happen? And then adjust accordingly. Sometimes you have to accept it. Sometimes you have to let it go. And sometimes you have to bring it up and say, this is not fair. I don't like what's happening right now. But you cannot let it go, because it's like anger. It's like any bad emotion, jealousy. It just snowballs until it starts to control you.
I love that. I mean, I should have known that earlier. I was still in corporate. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back, or maybe I'll
Yeah.
start my own venture. So
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know. But okay, who is the most annoying person you know?
It's probably myself. Because, I know better and sometimes I don't do better, right? I know better and I don't do better. We talk about this a lot. I talk about this a lot. The business world and the personal world are really the same world. Whatever,
Mm,
there's a saying, right? As it is above, it is below,
it's below.
everywhere I go, there I am. So chances are, even if you think you're showing up, which I did for years, thought I was showing up so much better in the business world than I was, because, I talked about the relation with my sisters, than I was in my personal life.
Mhm.
Frankly, I wasn't, because what was happening in it was, if there was someone in the business world who reminded me of my baby sister, reminded me of my mother, or reminded me of the way my father yelled at me or looked, I right away didn't like them. And I brought a whole bunch of noise in my head to them. So the most important, who is the most annoying person I know? It's probably who's right in front of me at that moment, right? Because like I said, with 100%, you're going to get annoyed. But you have to really think about, why are they annoying me? Do they remind me of someone that gave me a hard time, or I didn't like, or wasn't nice to me? That's one set of people that annoy us. The other set of people I call mirrors. These are very hard. They're people that either reflect back to you who you are. My mini-me's, they talk too loud. I wanted this. Now I see why, I was, the secretary was blocking the boss's door when I tried to get in, because she knew.
Is that
In a bad mood. But the other thing that
so
mirrors
you're the
do,
type of person that always depict in movies?
yeah, I
Stop,
mean,
Eileen, block all my call, change my
yeah,
calendars.
yeah. But the only thing I can say about that type of person is, when the place is blowing up, who's the first call? Get Eileen in here. So that's why I say it's very important that you manage it, because you don't want to be the one that's blocked and then the savior. You want to be the person that's consistently the trusted advisor that has influence. You want to be able to levy that ability to be so competent and to problem solve without being annoying. So, and that's hard, because, a lot of people, like, there are people that do things that we want to do. So I get mad at them too. They're not
Yeah.
doing anything wrong, but why can they stay on a diet and lose 20 pounds? How come they got the corner office quicker than me, right? All these questions, right? So those are mirrors. And then there are people, let's face it, Nicolette, that are just annoying. They don't shower enough. They talk really loud, really slow, or they're always eating at the meeting, or they always come in with a big file. Or my most annoying people now in business is people who always ask the same question. The first time you hear it, right? Like, you're presenting some plan and they're like, what's the evidence? And you're like, great question. And you go through the data. Then you realize every meeting you have, what's the evidence? You don't know anything. They just ask one question. They never bring anything to the table. So
Uh,
there are some people that just, they just are annoying. It's just who they are.
mm,
So that's who, usually it's the person right in front of you, and they're reminding you for some reason of someone else in your life, and it's all coming together for you to, like, have a chance to be a better person and not be annoyed.
when you said that those person, that guy or girl that asked, what's the evidence? It's probably, and if it's the same person asking every meeting, there must be something wrong. Like, is he or she out to get you?
They're
There
annoying,
must
right?
be there
Either
must be something within themselves that they're not settled with. Like, oh, okay, Eileen is out there performing,
right.
shining. I need to,
Or they're in a position of power and they don't belong there. So they've
that
figured
is
out how to
also
play the
true.
game and they
Yes,
ask
correct.
questions that are Teflon questions. They can't stick to
Yeah.
them. So,
Uh-huh.
you don't know with those type of people. That's why I say you got to be careful. Yeah. And that's the other thing. I don't anymore, and this is something I wish I could have told my younger self. I do not anymore predispose why they do that. That is not
Okay.
about me. We all tell the story of, do you guys in Malaysia use the Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Do you know the story? Right?
I've read it, but it's not like a
Goldilocks is hiking, she gets lost. She goes into a cabin that's open. There's a porridge, a big one, a little one, and a medium one, and she finds the one right for her. There's a bed that's too hard, too soft, just right. So,
oh
it's all
yes,
about
yes,
like
yes.
balance and finding what's right. But what we forget when we tell that story is that Goldilocks is trespassing. That was not her cabin. She went into someone else's house. So when I start to look at what you're doing and why are you doing it and why are you trying to get me, I'm trespassing. I am looking in a place I don't need to be. I need to look at, I can say the evidence isn't the point. The point really is, or I could say, I do have the evidence. Feel free to calendar me. Or I could say, great idea. Let's work on it together. You've worked on that project. You have the evidence on that. There are several ways I can handle it. But the way I don't want to handle it is you always ask the same question. That's so annoying. Or, oh my goodness, do you have something intelligent to say? Or where's your project, right?
You come up here and talk.
You got to be so
I
careful.
mean, yeah. And I like when you pointed that out. It's about a reflection of themselves rather than
Yes.
us. You're right. Yeah, most of the time it's not about us, it's actually them. So take it at face value and just go based on the facts. And yeah,
Yeah. No emotion, just the facts, ma'am. Right? Just the
that's right.
facts.
That's right. What makes an effective innovator and leader? Becoming a podcast host was a natural extension of my second act. And after spending 15 years in the corporate world, I've transitioned to helping individuals overcome challenges like navigating tough relationships, career burnout, and aligning their mission with their soul's calling. By certifying as an RTT hypnotherapist and a lifestyle coach, I've made it my mission to empower people to recreate the life they deserve and building a supportive community through my podcast. Now, let me ask, are you facing challenges like struggling to reprogram your mind to attract wealth, weight issues that feel like a constant yo yo, insomnia or restless nights from daily worries, or just a lack of confidence in public speaking? If the answer is yes, visit www.thenicknearestholisticlifestyle.com and grab a free hypnosis audio of these common struggles. It's a sneak peek into how my coaching works. Are you feeling shy? Don't be, because I'm as real as it gets. Let's connect on Instagram and LinkedIn and start your transformation today.
Well, I think an effective innovator and leader is someone who knows themselves, knows when to pivot, knows when to put themselves forward, and knows when to, we said before, put others forward, right? Just because you're the leader and the boss doesn't mean you always have to be the leader and the boss. So an innovator, also, you don't have to make it complicated. You have to keep it simple. You have to think of a way to get other people to follow you. So I think those are the things that really gain influence. I choose to talk about it through innovation, but I think those are the things that really gain influence, and those are the type of people you want to follow. And that's the type of person you want to work towards being. Someone who can, kind of read the economic tea leaves or the business tea leaves and knows we need to pivot, is able to look at the data and come up with a good solution, understands where things aren't, working together on the team and kind of gets that fit better so it's all elevated. So all of those things and keeping it simple and always going back to core mission. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? That's what makes a good leader and innovator.
Should a leader be an innovator too? Or must he or she have the two characteristics?
I think a leader needs to be an innovator. It doesn't mean that they're creating a new or a new project, but they need to look. I love this quote. I have it right in the front of my book. I have this quote from Henry Kissinger. You know who Henry Kissinger is, right? He negotiated the first kind of trade pact with the U.S. and China.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
actually, I had a very long conversation with Henry once in my life. And
No.
yeah, in a doctor's office, go get that. But anyway, we had a great conversation. But Henry
During
Kissinger,
your appointment?
that was a different appointment, but yeah, hello,
Okay.
appointment here. But Henry Kissinger has a quote: "The task of the leader is to get his people from where they are to where they
We're
have
the one.
not been." And you don't get someone to a new place without doing something different. An innovator is about doing it a different way, a new route, a different technique. So yes, I think all leaders need to be innovators. That doesn't mean they're creating, applications and products. It means they're thinking about how to, you're going into personal coaching. This is your guide.
Yeah.
Personal coaching world has changed so much, right? How we talk about the self, what it means to be a personal coach, how we work with someone. It wasn't always like that. So you have to keep abreast of what are the techniques? How do I talk to someone? How do I get them to understand their role? How do I get them to communicate? So that's what it means. You have to be abreast of what techniques and tricks are out there to get people to really want to perform. We all talk about that quintessential TED Talk, Simon Sinek, what's your why? Simon didn't create anything. He created a thought. What's your why? But that changed everything. So yes, I think leaders need to be innovators in their thought and their actions.
Yeah. I'm reflecting back as you were saying, I'm reflecting back to myself, like I'm about to go into an uncharted territory, which
Yes.
is this one. And I mean physically, the physicality of it and also the things that I'm gonna do and hopefully marry it with the experiences that I've had in the corporate world.
Yeah.
So yes, Eileen, I'm gonna hold you to it on the message we we said during the before the start of our interview. So okay, Eileen, what if I love the person who is annoying?
Well, I always get the question of this is for work, but I have a mother, a brother, a sister, my wife.
Oh,
Sometimes
my partner,
my
yeah.
partner. So, this is an answer I'm giving that is new. I used to say, look, work is one thing, business is another thing. At work, you made a commitment. You have to understand negotiation, blah, 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 blah. I don't think that anymore. I think that it's a really complicated world and you can love someone and be mad at them at the same time. You can love someone and not respect them for a minute. I think you have to really look at the long term about, am I working for the right person? Am I in partnership with the right person? Do I really value them? Because if you really love them, then even when they're annoying you, it's going to go by the wayside. You're going to figure out how to deal with it because that's not, that's maybe I love this analogy that, like, if you have a piece of paper, that annoyance is like a corner of the paper. The rest of your relationship is this. But if you don't love and value them, or you don't love and value your work, or you don't love and respect the people you work for, then you are going to have a bigger problem. So I really think that, you should love them. And that's what makes the annoyance, manageable because you know that you're trying to get somewhere else. You're not really mad at them. You're just not happy with them at that moment. And you hold those complicated thoughts.
I just had some flashbacks and yeah, that's actually really really true. But if you try and try to work on something, but then really you're not seeing the long term value that's gonna come from the synergy anymore. There's no synergy,
Yeah.
and maybe it's time to reevaluate.
Yep. Yep.
As
If
tough
you are
as it might sound.
annoyed every day, there's something else going on.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if you can't get over that your partner's, there's the old joke about, we're gonna have a divorce about the toothpaste, right? I squeeze it from the top, they squeeze it from the bottom. What did the smart therapist say? Buy 2 tubes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the old thing was you thought about it. One had a compromise. No, figure out when you could buy 2 tubes and what's non-negotiable. And if you're going back to our original thing that you said, Nicolette, if you're in the right place and living your purpose and doing what you want. Now, sometimes, I have a daughter, almost your age, and my daughter, she's not like me. I mean, she's very much like me, but she's not like me in the way that I'm mission.
She's not like,
But I'm mission driven. I'm going to work for an organization that, helps people, that, helps people to get access to benefits or gives people jobs. She's a wonderful worker. She's competent, but as long as they're ethical and they're not doing anything illegal, she doesn't care who she works for as long as they
I'm
pay her a
happy
good
with that.
salary and
Yeah,
9 to 5. She uses her brain, they value her, and she can leave at the end of the day.
that's
So you
right.
have to also think about that in the terms of, the long-term goal. Like, it may, especially in the middle of raising children and having a partner, maybe the job isn't the forefront of the balance right then. Maybe it's something that you do in a different kind of way. So it's not just about, loving the long-term proposition. It's that ebb and flow and the shifting balance of why is this important now? One of the things that makes people annoying and made me annoying and made that team that I had of mini-me's annoying was every single issue was do or die. That's the hill I want to die on. If I don't get this resource, if we don't do it this way, if we don't get that meeting, if this change doesn't happen, everything was that level. And life, you can't live like that. Like you said, you can't sustain it. So you have to really decide what's the long run, what's the short run, what's the hill I want to die on, how important is it? And if you're always coming up against it's that important, well, then you shouldn't either be with that person or in that job. It's not the right fit. It's just not the right fit. You should go to a place that they're making solutions that aren't annoying you or are willing to buy 2 tubes of toothpaste, right?
That's that's a good analogy. And then you mentioned, I lost my train of thought.
Wait until you get my age. You don't even know what a train of thought is. Right?
So it was a very important one, but it's okay. It'll come back to me.
He'll come back.
Yeah. Okay. So Eileen, what work are you most proud of so far?
I am most proud lately of really, I've been in the coaching space for 10 years now, and I feel like I finally understand the difference between being the leader and the manager and being the consultant and the coach. And I'm really proud of being able to take the lessons that were so hard won for me, and pass them on in a way that people can get them faster and not run into those same dead ends or problems at work, see their reality quicker. So I'm really, I'm one of those people who I thought, I had 30 years experience. I managed huge organizations, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to be a great coach. I'm really proud of the evolution of how, I've taken to helping people help themselves.
I love that. And I remember now, I want to circle back to what you said before. Oftentimes we amplify the thing, we make it dramatic when it doesn't have to be.
Amplify
We don't have
is
to
such a
die
great
like,
word.
yeah, we amplify everything. That's why people, that an annoying trait within us gets, it gets up
I'm a consultant.
unnecessarily.
I'm working for a large nonprofit. They have offices in 8 countries and they help sick children. And because they help sick children, the staff that works there is so incredibly dedicated, so dedicated. But they're in a crisis because they're burnt out and they're going through money and and they're losing their main focus about helping the family, deal with the sick child. So I have a question when they come in and tell me they need something. I don't know if I should make this public. I say to them, is it a ventilator or an art project? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because the kids at the hospital, they need an art project. We have to send the art project, the art project. Oh my God, versus the hospital can't find a ventilator, but is it a ventilator or an art project? Let's right size that. If it's an art project, it can come in 3 days or a
That's
week.
right.
If it's a
That's right.
ventilator, let's get right on that and pull out every stop. But, sometimes we call it, like, is it a broken fingernail or a broken leg? You really, like what you're saying, not everything has to be drama. And especially, the world is fast paced and we're talking about our lives and it feels really important to us, like you're saying. It feels like if I don't get this, nothing's going to go right. But looking at ourselves and having a trusted advisor or coach that could say, let's right size this and actually say, how important is this and how do you let it go? Whenever I think about helping people let go, I think about the monkey bars. You have the monkey bars, which I could
Mm-hmm.
never do because I'm not strong enough. But,
Me too.
I don't know who did them. People that went into the Army and the Navy. But the point of it is, when you think about the monkey bars, I could never move forward because I was so scared of hanging there. I couldn't take one hand off to move forward. You have to let go to move forward. And that's what you have to remember. I'm not saying no to this and compromising. I'm saying I want to move forward. I'm going to let this one go. And that's the only way you can move forward.
I think that would resonate with all of our listeners.
Also.
I love it. What are you working on currently, Eileen?
Well, I
Well,
have two. Well, I have two projects.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I've just been selected to go on a TV show. I don't know if you've heard it. Called,
Congratulations.
yeah, it's exciting. It's called The Beta Blocks. Have you ever heard it?
No,
Look it
tell
up.
me more.
It's an entrepreneurial competition. So they
You're
bring
the
in,
judge?
no, I'm going to be a contestant. I am going back to my roots. I have a product. I can tell you about my product. I have a product that I'm pitching that, I after years of helping entrepreneurs and building companies, I've decided, I really want to build a product. I want to create something that doesn't exist in the marketplace that makes my life a little easier. And I've been in this house. Well, this house it was old and it had a stove that was kind of crooked. You know how the old stoves kind of don't get balanced and the floor gets unbalanced. And when I got a new stove and it flattened out, I realized I'm not such a good cook on the flat stove. I was a really good cook on this sideways stove. If something was cut too big, I put it on the bottom. The smaller things I put on the top. I didn't have to always be over the stove. So this unbalanced, we talk about balance in life, but this unbalanced cookware really worked for me. So I'm creating a frying pan that's unbalanced. It's a little bit of a take on a wok, but that I can put the onions and the garlic in at the same time, but the onions go in the part that's closest to the flame and the garlic goes in the part furthest away and they'll be ready at the same time. So I'm creating a product.
I can already imagine how I'm gonna use that. Like
Love that.
you're cooking a steak and then you can put the butter on the side.
Exactly. You get it. You get it. And if you're like me, I cook for 1, 2 people most of the time. I don't want to make 4 frying pans. I'm cooking
Yeah.
for my family. I want to be able to cook literally one pot meal, but I don't want it to be mush. I want it to have individual flavors.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
So
So so that films in February. So I'm in the middle of creating my MVP, my minimum viable product, and that. And then I am working on my second book, which, my first book was called Managing Annoying People. And my second book, we have a few working titles, basically Managing Annoying Me, How to Get Out of My Own Way. But in the book, I talk a lot with a friend of mine. We're in our 6th decade. And we talk a lot about why did we just do that? And how did we get into that situation? And why am I still fighting with this person? So I might call it Conversations with Kathy, because, you know how it is when you're like, you just cut someone off and you nearly kill yourself and you speed up to the light and then you slam on your brakes. You're like, what was that? I say, Kathy, I nearly just killed myself. So it's those conversations. Why do we do those things? And how do we learn? So I'm writing a second book that I'm about to find a literary agent and then onto a publisher. So I'm very excited.
Oh my God, exciting times for you. Hearing
Very
about it,
exciting.
it's like, wow, 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 wow. Okay, Eileen, we're going to pivot to a self-worth question. In your words, how would you define self-worth and why is it crucial for personal growth and happiness?
Yeah, I think we touched on it. Self-worth is that inner knowing that I belong and I have something to contribute. It's not about what makes me happy. It's not about, to be loved. It's about how do I nourish my soul to give what I should to this world. And I think that's what self-worth is about.
Beautiful. What is your heart's greatest wish?
That's a tough one. I think my heart's greatest wish is that, we really try to walk in another person's shoes to see their perspective so that we can change our behavior.
Do you have a mantra that you live by?
Yes, I have several. My favorite is your reactions speak louder than your actions.
Mm,
So how you react, your reactions speak louder than your actions. Because when you plan something and think you know what you're doing, that's one thing. But when you react and shoot from the hip, that tells a whole nother story.
Wow. Thank you.
That's
Definitely something for me to ponder upon today. Eileen, if you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
What would my quote be? Well, I think it would be you matter. You have noble purpose. You and your actions matter.
How can people reach out to you, Eileen?
LinkedIn is a really great way to get me. Eileen Marcus, ILENE MARCUS. And then I have a website, eileenmarcus.com, ILENEMARCUS.com. Of course, managing annoying people, I usually pop right up with an orange book. But, if my name, ILENEMARCUS, and I love LinkedIn. I'm really trying to grow my followers. So
Me too. That's like my new Instagram.
Yeah.
You gotta build my following before I get to manifesting.
yeah, manifesting, it's fine.
And there you have it, guys. You heard it from the person herself, Eileen Marcus. Before we close off, Eileen, I'd like to thank you personally for the work that you're doing for the world and for advancing every step of the way despite the challenges, creating trails that will come after you. For our listeners, this has been that one podcast with that controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you find yourself thinking that you are worthless, you're probably not alone. But more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I'm worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically, and that is all the way from the ethers. And for that reason itself, you are worthy and you are enough. This has been Eileen Marcus, your guest of the day, and Nick Nieras, your host, signing off. Thank you so much, Eileen, for your time.
Thank you.